That perfect pink in your bacon and hot dogs? It's not natural. It's chemistry. That color you see sizzling in a pan, the rosy slices in your sandwich, all of it comes from one chemical, sodium nitrite. Some call it a lifesaver. It keeps food safe from deadly bacteria such as botulism. Others call it a silent killer, linking it to cancer and health risks we don't fully understand. So how did one chemical become both hero and villain in our food? And why is it in almost everything that comes off the deli shelf? Let's break down the story of the chemical that made modern meat possible and controversial. Before chemistry saved the sausage. Imagine it's 1910. You walk into a butcher shop, buy a slice of ham, and 2 days later, it turns gray, smells sour, and maybe even starts growing slime. That wasn't unusual. It was expected. Before refrigeration and modern preservatives, meat spoiled fast. Back then, people faced a terrifying risk: botulism, a deadly foodborne illness caused by bacteria that thrive in poorly preserved meats. Even a tiny amount could cause paralysis, or worse. Outbreaks of botulism terrified families. One bad sausage, one spoiled ham, could wipe out entire households. Scientists were desperate to find something, anything, that could keep meat safe for longer. And that's when chemistry stepped in. The discovery that changed meat forever. Enter sodium nitrite, a simple compound that turned out to be a miracle. At first, people didn't even know what was happening. Butchers who used certain curing salts noticed their meat stayed fresher longer and looked pink rather than gray. Eventually, scientists figured it out. It was nitrite doing the magic. This chemical did 3 crucial things. Stopped bacteria, especially Clostridium botulinum, the one that causes botulism. Prevented fat from going rancid, so meat stayed edible longer. Kept meat pink, giving it that appealing, fresh look. By the 1920s, sodium nitrite had become the standard in meat processing. Hot dogs, ham, sausages, bacon, all relied on it. And by the 1950s, no school lunchbox was complete without something cured in nitrite. Bologna sandwiches, sliced ham, or hot dogs all carried that same pink glow. Today, more than 90% of processed meats in the US still use it. That's how deeply it's baked into modern food culture. How sodium nitrite actually works. So, what's really happening inside your food? Sodium nitrite is a salt-based chemical. Simple, stable, and reactive. When added to meat, it chemically binds with the meat's proteins. Those proteins are what give meat its red or pink color, but as meat ages, oxygen turns them brown or gray. Nitrite interrupts that process. It forms a compound called nitrosomyoglobin, which stabilizes the pink hue. That's why cured bacon and ham stay pink even after cooking or sitting in a package for weeks. But that's not all. Nitrite also kills or suppresses harmful bacteria, especially the ones that cause botulism. It's not exaggerating to say sodium nitrite saved millions of lives by making meat safer to eat. It also keeps the flavor fresh by stopping fats from oxidizing. That's the chemical process that makes old meat taste sour or metallic. In short, sodium nitrite is why your bacon still tastes like bacon after sitting in the fridge for a week. The color that sold a generation. Now, let's talk about that color. The perfect pink we all know. When customers walk into a grocery store, they look for freshness. Bright red steaks, rosy ham, shiny bacon. It looks appetizing. In contrast, gray or brown meat feels wrong. It might be perfectly safe, but people just don't buy it. So that pink color became the standard. It became expected. And sodium nitrite was the secret behind it. It's not that food companies wanted to trick people. They were responding to what shoppers demanded: bright, clean, and consistent. But over time, this pink perfection created an illusion. The illusion that color equals freshness. And that illusion would come back to haunt the industry. When chemistry met controversy. For decades, sodium nitrite was seen as a miracle. Then scientists started asking questions. In the 1970s, researchers discovered something troubling. When nitrite is heated, especially during frying or grilling, it can form nitrosamines. These are chemical compounds known to be carcinogenic in animals, and potentially in humans too. That discovery sent shockwaves through the food industry. Were the same chemicals that kept us safe from botulism now giving us cancer? It was a real dilemma. A chemical that saves lives could also endanger them. Governments, scientists, and food companies scrambled to investigate. The science behind the fear. Here's what they found. When you cook nitrite-preserved meats, like bacon, at high temperatures, nitrite can react with amino acids in the meat to create nitrosamines. Animal studies showed these compounds could cause tumors. That's why, in 2015, the World Health Organization classified processed meats like bacon, ham, and hot dogs as Group 1 carcinogens, meaning there's enough evidence to link them to certain cancers, especially colorectal cancer. To be clear, that doesn't mean eating bacon is as dangerous as smoking. It just means there's a measurable connection, especially when consumed regularly over long periods. Governments responded differently. Some European countries have limited nitrite levels in food. Others banned it entirely in specific products. In the US, however, regulators allowed it to stay, but under strict limits. The FDA and USDA argued that the small amount of nitrite used in processed meats is safe and necessary to prevent botulism, a far deadlier and more immediate threat. The Great Label Loophole. So, what about those nitrite-free or uncured meats you see at the store? Well, here's the twist. Many of them still contain nitrites, just not synthetic ones. Instead, they use celery powder or beet juice, which are naturally high in nitrates. And once those nitrates enter your body, or even just react with bacteria in the meat, they convert into nitrites, doing the same thing as the chemical version. So, while the label says no added nitrites, it's really a matter of branding, not biology. The meat stays pink, lasts longer, and resists bacteria, thanks to the same process. The only difference? The nitrite came from celery instead of a lab. Why the debate still rages on. So who's right? The people calling nitrites safe or the ones calling them dangerous? The truth lies somewhere in between. In small amounts, nitrites are harmless. They even occur naturally in vegetables like spinach and lettuce. Your own body produces nitrites as part of digestion. The problem comes with frequency and context. Eating a few strips of bacon now and then won't cause cancer. But eating processed meats daily for years, combined with high-heat cooking, may increase your long-term risk. That's why nutritionists don't say, never eat bacon. They say, eat less, not none. The human side of the story. There's also a deeper reason this story hits home. Bacon, ham, hot dogs, they're comfort foods. They remind people of childhood breakfasts, family barbecues, and weekend cookouts. So when people hear, this food might cause cancer, it's not just about health. It's emotional. It feels like someone's attacking your memories. That's part of why the sodium nitrite debate has lasted so long. It's not just chemistry, it's culture. And culture doesn't change easily, even when the science does. That perfect pink in your bacon and hot dogs? It's not natural, it's chemistry and history. Sodium nitrite solved one deadly problem and created another complex one. It saved lives, defined an era, and changed what fresh looks like forever. So next time you see that bright pink slice of ham, you'll know, it's not just color. It's a century of science, safety, and debate cooked into every bite. Because behind every piece of bacon is a story, one that's both delicious and a little unsettling. And that's the truth about sodium nitrite, the chemical that keeps your meat pink.